You had one job. You had one job. People would go into a caucus, they would argue, they would debate, they would try to convince people to choose a different candidate. One job. Donald Trump sails to the primary in Iowa. That was completely expected. But for the Democrats, no results. No results. Why aren't there results? One job. You take the vote of that guy, he gets a second choice, and then you answer again. Here's the catch. You had 3 levels this time: the raw vote, the transition vote, and the final vote. And the fact that you couldn't get this working on this makes me question, what were the last results? What were the last results in Iowa? Meaning, in 2016, was that the actual result? And if you can't get this result right because you're finding inconsistencies in the vote totals, maybe we should have had that level of transparency in the last election, because maybe we would have gotten a different result. If you have this choice and then this choice, and then you're getting back different information than the first 2 choices are indicating, and you have trouble giving the results this time around, how do we know that the last results, if you would have had to show all of the totals, wouldn't have also been dodgy? My point here is, if you fuck up the election, you raise more questions. And now you have a situation where nobody knows who won. We know what the beginning totals were. We know what this kind of 2%, but 2% is not really enough to give any indication of what the rest of the primary were. We know what people were talking about. We know what the energy on the ground was. It seemed like Buttigieg may have had a good night. It seems like Sanders might have had a really good night. Sanders has been keeping track of the vote totals in order to ensure, I would imagine, that he's not shafted and cheated again. And so his camp is looking at the totals and thinks, we did it good tonight. When the vote totals come out, we had a really, really good night, which he probably did, at least by all polling and by the energy that was on the ground. I'm going to read to you why the polling results were delayed. The Democratic Party, this shit show of a primary process where the entire world is watching to see who ends up running in this particular race, and they come up with no result. Weak,
senior investigative,
comical, incompetent, all of those things. But I'm going to show you why. This is going to be a very quick video because I need to leave, but I did want to give you a heads up. I waited up to like 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, get the Iowa results. Had to be up at 5, and the Democratic Party didn't have the competence enough to do a basic caucus. Yeah, I'm totally brimming with confidence. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal, Patreon. This content is brought to you by you, so even $1 helps. This is Chris Hayes. Listen to Chris Hayes.
And legal correspondent Cynthia McFadden has been looking into what happened tonight. Joins us now with the latest. What did happen tonight, Cynthia?
Well, it's hard to know precisely. I would start with this. At least there is a paper record of what happened tonight. So at some point it can be known and known accurately. So that's important. But the app, let's talk about the app. The app was sent out to the precinct chair people. We understand, our reporting tells us, about several days ago. But that when many of them went to download it, apparently, they were receiving warnings on their phone that said, this type of file can harm your phone. Do you want to continue? We knew that as of 5:30 tonight, at least 12 party heavyweights were not able to log into their apps and were not able to download them at all. So certainly that sounds like it may have caused a few problems. The app, we had been investigating this app for a few weeks now. The Democratic Party of Iowa wouldn't tell us who developed it, but I can tell you in the last hour, our tech reporter, Ben Popkin, was able to figure it out. And here's who it is. The Iowa and Nevada Democrats parties paid over $50,000, both of them did, for the same app developer called Shadow. We have the expenditure filing records. Now, I can tell you this about Shadow. Their website says, we are campaign and technology veterans who have built and implemented technology for Hillary for America, Obama for America, Google.
If your name is Bernie Sanders, why do you trust that at that moment? If your name is Bernie Sanders and you lived through 2016, why do you trust anything except paper ballots? I don't think I'm being overly cynical nor overly cautious. The idea that your enemy, the person who literally told Tom Perez not to let him take the party, who's been making these things for third way Democrats, why do you trust this? Why do you trust this? Yes, I understand that they're an app maker and they've made it for Obama and they made it for Clinton. Fair enough. But if your name is Bernie Sanders, as soon as you hear those names, I want paper ballots. I want paper ballots. And yes, apparently there's a paper trail, thank God. But this raises questions about the efficacy of this particular election. It just does. And you raise these questions in a situation where you didn't have to raise these questions if you'd have just did paper ballots. If you'd have just had the basic goddamn paper ballots, we would have had the results by now. Just because you have a technical solution to something doesn't necessarily mean it's actually a solution. Sometimes there are better options, and sometimes these technical solutions allow a certain way of gaming this process. If your name is Sanders and you know all of these people want to stop you from winning, why do you trust anything but paper ballots? This should give you the impetus to scream paper ballots on the next elections. My advice. So right here, this is the AP. Technology problems and reporting inconsistencies kept Iowa Democratic Party officials from releasing results on Monday Caucus, the much-hyped kickoff of the 2020 primary. It was an embarrassing twist after months of promoting the contest as a chance for the Democrats to find some clarity. Instead, Caucus Day ended with no winner, no official result, and many questions about whether Iowa can retain its first status. No, that's not the question. The question is the legitimacy of the election itself if they can't do real basic things correct. The statement came over, they say it wasn't a hack or intrusion. The statement came after tens of thousands of voters spent hours Monday night sorting through a field of nearly dozens of candidates who spent as much as a previous year fighting to win the opening contest. Donald Trump, to take on Trump. Let's see. The candidates didn't wait. Joe Biden, it looks like it's going to be a long night, but we're feeling good. Joe Biden said, you should not be feeling good, Joe. Just saying. Senator Sanders, we have a good feeling we're going to do very, very well here in Iowa once the results are posted. Today marks the beginning of the end of Trump. He's been keeping his own records. He's probably right. Warren, listen, it's too close to call. And Warren might be right because Warren seems in some of these places are doing relatively strong. Buttigieg is claiming victory. By all indications, we're going on to New Hampshire victorious. Apparently, party officials were sending people out at 2 a.m. to get the last results because they didn't necessarily know what some of the precinct captains had. When the app didn't work, they started calling in, but they weren't necessarily taking calls, so they weren't able to give their information. Shit show. That's the technical term for it. That's the technical term. Des Moines County Democratic Chair Tom Courtney said the new app created a mess. As a result, Courtney said precinct leaders were phoning in results to state party headquarters, which were too busy to answer the calls in some cases. Organizers were still looking for missing results. Shortly before 2 a.m., the state party chair were making dispatch people to the homes of precinct captains who hadn't reported their numbers. Early in the night, Iowa Democrats across the state cast their vote, balancing a strong preference for fundamental change with an overwhelming desire to beat Trump. At least 4 high-profile candidates vied for that spot. All right, so I'm going to end this. Again, Trump won his, not an issue. Democrats are stewing in a caucus mess of their own creation with the sloppiest train wreck in history, Trump campaign manager Brad Perscoli said. It will be natural for people to doubt the fairness of the process, and these are the people who want to run the entire healthcare system. You stepped into that. You put your face to get hit by that particular punch because this was a shit show. You didn't have to have some random app. And if your name is Sanders again, do you really want an app where people, have created it for Obama and for Clinton, effectively for people who hate you? No, you should not have wanted this app. Yes, you should screen for paper ballots from this point on. Like, share, subscribe. I'll be on Fault Lines. Thanks so.